Well, I'm going to get started because we have a brief hour to learn a whole lot. And welcome, everybody. I'm Wendy Kohlenberg. I'm a WRJ board member, and I am co-first vice president of the Heartland District. And I'm thrilled to welcome you to our Cooking Outside the Matzah Box, unique Passover recipes and a demonstration. I'm going to ask you to introduce yourselves in the chat with your name, your sisterhood, and the city you come from so we can see how we're well represented across the country. And if you have questions throughout Bernice's presentation, feel free to put them in the chat and I'm going to monitor that. Bernice loves a conversation while she's cooking, so that's fine. And we'll also have a Q&A at the end of our demonstration. So if you have some other questions for our other presenters who are sharing some other fabulous recipes with us, feel free to put them in the chat. I'm delighted to introduce Bernice Porrazzo, who's a WRJ board member and also is a Latid mentor. She is currently in the Mid-Atlantic District, soon to be the Eastern District of WRJ, where she serves as their VP of Philanthropy and Special Projects, and of course, their cookbook chair. She's a past president of the Women of Temple Road Shalom Sisterhood in Falls Church, Virginia, and now serves as their membership secretary. Also, of course, co-chair of their Passover Cookbook Committee, and she writes a monthly food column. We're joined tonight by her husband of over 55 years, Peter, who's going to be her director and video guy to keep us abreast of her cooking. And they have three wonderful daughters and three wonderful granddaughters who all share Bernice's passion for cooking and baking. So tonight, Bernice is going to show us how to make Passover bagels. I can't believe it's around the corner. It's next Wednesday. What? And as I said, if you have questions, ask them throughout the demonstration and also at the end. And if you all will, I think we're going to automatically mute you as we join Chef Bernice in her kitchen. Bernice?
Hi, good evening. First of all, I'd like to give a shout out to the Women of TRS EC Committee who is here tonight, and also to Heartland District. Thank you for joining us, everybody else as well. So tonight I'm going to make you some Passover cottage cheese bagels. Don't they look yummy? Oh my goodness, we can actually have bagels, cream cheese, and lox on Passover. Not made with matzah meal like a lot of the other recipes are. These bagels are made with cottage cheese, that's 2% cottage cheese, almond flour, and that's kosher for Passover, buying it in Costco, and Lieber's or some Gelfin, or there's some other brands of baking powder that is kosher for Passover, and salt. Just 4 simple ingredients. So let's get started. So before we got on, I kind of pureed the cottage cheese, which they call for in the recipe. It calls for 1 cup of cottage cheese, which is in there right now. This recipe will make you 6 bagels. So if you want to double it, you could, double the recipe ingredients. So it also calls for 2 cups of almond flour and 1.5 teaspoons of Passover baking powder and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Now, you want to make sure, even though it's kosher for Passover, it's still baking powder. You do not want to mix the baking powder near the salt because that will not help the rising of the product that you're making. So to save some time, I've already put our almond flour and our baking powder and salt in here, and it's been mixed. So now I'm going to turn on a little bit noisy the food processor to mix it all together to make the dough. I wanted to tell you that my recipe, some of you have it, it also says you could use a mixer. I prefer to use the food processor. It seems to do a better job. So just an FYI on that. So I take off the lid, put in the ingredients that I want to put in, which is the almond flour and the baking powder, all around to make it even. Get it off the edge. And then it says to pulse it, which I will do. What you're doing is you're trying to incorporate it into a dough format. Lid back on. And I apologize for the sound, but that's the only way I can show you that it becomes a dough. So I turned it on and I pulsed. As you can see, it's starting to come together. Look at that. 1, 2, 3. It comes together. You really don't need very many pulses to make yourself your dough. Let me check it out and let me see it's all mixed together. A little bit more. Always best to check out what you're doing. Now I'm going to look again. Okay, I think it's good. I think it's good. I touched it. Peter, if you'd like to come over here and let me show them the consistency. So this is the way it should look in there. See, it has a little bit of the cottage cheese, but it's still okay. So what I'm going to do is take it off my spatula. Take this off, and what I do then is I put it onto in a bowl on a scale. Why are you doing that? You're probably asking. Because I'm a perfectionist and I like to have bagels that look all the same when they come out. You don't have to do that. You could, eyeball it. But what I'm going to do is show you the way I do it. So put this over here. So take it out of the mixer. And I'm going to turn on my scale. When you put a bowl on it, before you turn it on, it'll make the bowl disappear, and it only will be the amount of measurement that your dough will be in. And then I'll put it in there.
Yeah, Bernice, I already have a question. Is there a substitute if you can't eat almonds?
I never tried any other nut. Is it that they can't eat nuts, period?
All I heard is if they can't eat almonds.
Okay,
So.
well, there is a recipe for Passover bagels in the soon to be, premiered Passover booklet that will be available for you to look at a week from today on Mighty Networks, and will be sent to you with a link. So yes, there is another recipe, and that's with matzah meal. So you don't have to, do it this way. I found I personally didn't like the ones made with that because it has that, it tastes like matzah. This one does not taste like matzah. I mean, you can ask Peter. What I did is I made those bagels a while back, and guess what? They were frozen, and I defrosted them. You can see that they look really good. And when I'm all done with showing you this recipe, I will show you what they look like when they're just baked. No difference, okay? So that's a good thing to know. So there is a recipe in the booklet that will be available after this program 1 week from today.
And Bernice, somebody had also asked if there's a substitute if you're dairy-free, but it looks like Becky Markowitz, who's also presenting this evening, she put in a whole spiel in the chat. Those of you who need to substitute for dairy-free, please look in the chat in the middle of it for Becky's response, because I think you'll find it very helpful.
Yeah, I think there might be some, isn't there dairy-free cottage cheese out there? I think probably. Okay.
Yes.
This particular amount, the reason why I measured it, because each time I make it, I don't know if it's my hand the way I measured the 2 cups of almonds, or the cottage cheese the way I measure it 1 cup, but each time it's a different weight. So that's why I measure it. This says 15.6. So what I'm going to do is get my little calculator out and go 15.6 divided by 6 to know what is the amount that I need to make for each one to have. So it says 2.6 ounces. So now I take this dough, put it over here, shut off my thing, put on another one. This is so that if you have a scale at home, you could do it too. And then I put on the weight, and now I'm going to measure out 2.6. Slightly too much. 2.7. Oh, good eye, Bernice. 2.5.
And also, if I haven't gotten to your question, because I think some of these have already been answered in the chat, please put it out there again. I know that somebody said they absolutely can't have any kind of nuts, so we've addressed that, but somebody said there's also matzah cake meal for baking. Not sure how it would work for this recipe. And can you use dairy-free Greek yogurt?
Oh, you know what? I'm all for trying anything. I mean, there's a lot of recipes out there. When I get to Sandy's recipe, I'm gonna ask her about some how if she adds anything or subtracts anything or uses different ingredients just to make it a different kind of a recipe. So okay, 2.4. I'm gonna get it. So I'm gonna get all of mine out there. 2.6. As you can see, I'm just putting it on free form onto my tray. Almost 2.6. 2.3. Clean hands, gals. You have to have clean hands when you're working this. 7. Okay, that's 4. And 2 more. 22. 3. 26. And then my last one. Okay. So I try to take it all out like that.
Bernice, about how much does each dough ball weigh?
2.6 ounces.
Okay.
Because when I weighed it all at once, it was 15.6. And when I did my math, it came out to be my calculator, not me, told me what to do. Now, what I do next is I take my hands and roll them, freeform roll it like that. Freeform roll it.
Bernice, have you ever tried making 8 or even 12 pieces to make more cocktail-sized bagels?
Look at the size that I made there. Is that if that's big for you, then you could probably make
Much smaller, yeah.
probably 8, but they'll be very small.
Yeah, okay.
And you might be right. Maybe cocktail size is a good size. It is a smaller bagel. It doesn't rise as much as a regular bagel does, because I do make regular bagels.
When did you add the salt?
Sorry?
Did you already add the salt?
I add the salt at the same time that I told you that I put in the dish the 2 cups of almond flour. I put the salt in the back. I put the baking soda in the front. I mixed the salt really well, mixed the baking powder really well, and then mixed it all together.
Okay.
I didn't let the salt touch the baking powder because, as I said, it will affect the rising process. Okay. Now that we have it in nice sized balls, the next thing you want to do, and this is a grease-proof paper. You want to line your baking pan with grease-proof paper. This I got from King Arthur, but you can get the one that you get in a roll. This is automatically the size of a baking pan. Then once you get it to that, okay, you want to put it on there, and you want to use the palm of your hand to kind of like push it down a little bit to look like a round shape of a bagel. You want to make sure that the edges are nice and together, not separated. Otherwise, you'll have them separate when they bake. So you do that with all of them. I like to do this part first before I make the hole in the middle.
Wendy, you're
And I want
muted.
to tell you, I also
Oops.
have,
I'm sorry, Bernice.
yeah,
Does parchment qualify as grease-proof paper?
yes, it's the same thing.
Okay, and how much do you need to allow for expansion? But you're showing us, I think.
Oh, where I'm putting it is right, about 1.5 inches, 2 inches. It doesn't rise, it doesn't spread. It doesn't spread very much.
Oh,
You don't have to spray it because parchment or grease-proof paper has already got it on there. But if you're a little worried about that, give it a little spritz, but you really don't need to, okay? So this is the way you want it to look.
Robin said, what about using an ice cream scoop to get exact sizes? But I would expect that'd be much smaller.
There is a larger size ice cream scoop, but
True.
I mean, if you're worried about your hands getting into the, like it's kind of like messy, what is the reason? You want to make, for the correct sizes? I just do it because it measured out. I figured that it would be measured out to the exact size. Each one looks the same. If you look at them right now, they all look about the same size.
Right.
And I measured it out 2.6 ounces, and that's what came from 15.6. So using a calculator. Okay. But you don't have a calculator? Eyeball it. I mean, everything can be done.
Right. And you can always move some dough to a different one if you have to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'll just give a little wash to my hands because I'm not. What I'm going to do is put my little finger in the water. Okay. And then when I'm going to put my finger in the middle of the circle and go down like that. Okay. And as you can see, it has a hole in it,
Perfect.
like a bagel. But I want to make sure that it's really, a really good hole, because sometimes when it bakes, it closes up. So it does tell you, and there's directions to, after 10 minutes, set your timer for 10 minutes first, and then look at it and use something like a round back of a spatula to make the hole again while you're baking, if it closes up. Okay. So once I get the hole in there, then I like to again make sure that the edges are nice and together, not apart. So I'll do some more. Now, this is today's dough. In a minute, I'm going to show you dough that I made yesterday and put in the refrigerator. So why I'm showing you that? Because I want to show you that this can be made in advance and left in the refrigerator to make the next day, frozen after you make it, so that it makes it easy for you not to have a stress-free Passover. Okay. And when your kids say, "Mommy, or your husband says, I want something other than that Passover cereal," you got a bagel for them. Okay. I use the water because that can help me get a better hole. And then I put it like this, put it together. Now that's today's, okay? This is what I made yesterday. As you can see, it's a little bit harder, but it's the same kind of consistency. I made the holes this morning to show you how to do it. And then now I'm going to make one in this. Actually, it appears to be a little easier to make the hole when I make it the day in advance, but you don't have to. Okay, that's why I wanted to show you that. Okay. Anybody have any questions about hole making?
So far, so good.
Let's move on to what you do after you've done the holes. What you do is you take one egg, a whole egg, put a little bit of water. Okay, a teaspoon of water is a little bit of water. And then you use a little spatula, not spatula, a whisk, and whisk it together. Don't have a whisk? Use a fork. Okay, whisk it together. I don't need my water anymore, so I'll just stick it in there. Have a pastry brush. And now you're going to brush the bagels. You want to brush the outside and the inside. I'm brushing it because, why do I want to brush it? Because I want the everything bagel topping to actually set on it. So I'm going to only do 2 at a time because I don't want it to dry out.
And Bernice, you said that the hole goes all the way through like a bagel.
All
correct?
the way through like a bagel.
Yeah.
Yes.
Somebody asked. Okay.
Like that.
Thank you.
Can you see that? Okay,
Yes.
good. Then I take my bagel seasoning. Now you can do any kind of bagel seasonings. You could use everything. This is from Trader Joe's. You could use sesame seeds. You can use poppy seeds. Yours is your desire, your taste. This has everything on it. Then I sprinkle it well. And go on to the next. As I said, I only do 2 at a time because I want to make sure that the egg on top will definitely have the topping stick to it. Don't worry about the extra. I'm going to show you what I do with that. Two at a time.
And if you left them plain, would you still put on the egg wash?
If you left them plain, you just put the egg wash on.
Okay. And is Temple Road of Shalom the congregation where Michael Shohead is cantor?
Okay.
Yes. I guess somebody said yes. Okay, good.
Okay.
Yeah. We're good.
As you can see, 1 egg does 6 very well. So what are you going to do with the extra egg? You know what I do? I take my frying pan, I put a little bit of Pam in there, I whip it again up, I throw it in there, and I actually do a scrambled egg because I don't throw out anything in my house. You could ask Peter. I don't throw out anything. Okay, we're sprinkle, 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 sprinkle. Okay, lots of extras on the top on the pan, right? So what I do, Peter, I'm going to walk over to the sink. So come to the sink. So what I do is I go over to the sink, and then I take my finger, pat on the side of the thing, and look how easy it comes off. Any of them that sticks on it, that's fine. We want it all over. So if it doesn't come off, then that's fine too. And you're only putting it in at 350, and you're only doing it for 20 minutes. But however, I did it today, and when I made some yesterday, actually I like it a little bit browner like that. So I leave it in for like 24 minutes. So it's your desire. If you like light bagels, then don't leave it in as long. If you like, you're going to toast them anyway. I mean, it tastes best when it's toasted. So I'm going to put it into the oven. I'm going to set my timer, 24.
And
There's
Bernice,
no other-
everything seasoning is kosher for Passover?
Sesame seeds, are they not kosher for Passover?
Well, the everything seasoning, that too?
I'm not 100% sure.
Okay.
I will, but if it isn't, then what you do is you put on, I mean, I will have to look that up. I really don't know.
Okay.
That I
And do you always bake?
Wash my hands real
Yeah.
quick, and then I'm heading over to my computer, where we're going to be talking to Becky Markowitz about her fabulous chicken paprikash. But before we go, let me show you what it looks like when it comes out of the oven. Oh my God, 24 minutes just went by really fast. This is what it looks like when it comes out of the oven.
Wow. Wow.
So I made this morning. This is what it looks like. So I'm going to leave them out here. They're not hot, but they are definitely
Bernice,
homemade.
one more. Bernice, do you always bake on a baking stone in your oven? And
that's because I bake bread and I just leave it in there. It's so heavy to come out. That's why I don't take it out.
okay.
But that's the reason why it's there.
And then Pam found out that AI says TJ's everything but the bagel sesame seasoning is not kosher for Passover.
Okay, then what about sesame seeds? Can somebody check that out?
Yeah, they're okay. So Sephardic can use the sesame seeds. Well, we got conflicting thoughts here, so use your judgment.
And the other thing is, well, then you can have plain bagels, and all your toppings will make the most delicious flavor.
Exactly.
Say goodbye to my husband, because I'm going to get on the computer now.
Bye, Peter.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Okay, then. So Becky, I am so excited to show everybody
Thank
your
you.
chicken recipe, and I'm going to ask you a few questions about it. Nikki's going to show it up on the screen. Look at that, everyone. Oh my goodness. It looks delicious, especially the gravy that's in that pot in the
So,
last picture.
Bernice, before you start, I just want to say that a lot of times people say you eat with your eyes first. And I think this reminded me that you eat a lot of times with your heart first. Because when I started doing this recipe, which I haven't made for many years, which my mother-in-law got from her mother, it just filled me with so many memories and joy. So I just want to say thank you for that.
Oh, thank you so much. All right. Well, listen, we're Becky, the origin of your recipe you had in when you submitted your recipe. Tell us about, is it Big Mama? I mean, it's
Yeah.
from Hungary.
So my mother-in-law, her mother was from Hungary, and my mother-in-law we called Little Grandma, and Sadie, who it was from Hungary, we called her Big Grandma. And for whatever reason, that their family always had this at Passover. And it was always served as kind of an appetizer in a small dish. And we all have certain things we serve at certain holidays, and this was one of them. And I haven't had it for years, but you inspired me and I made it.
Well, it looks absolutely delicious. So the two meat flavors apparently complement each other by inserting them into the sauce. What you said something about you sop up the gravy and everybody just loves the gravy. So is that something that you do as an appetizer, or have you ever served it as an entree?
Yeah, you could have it as an entree. We always have had it during Passover as a appetizer in a small bowl. And my mother-in-law made Passover rolls. I think your bagels would be great. So you could have the Passover rolls and bagels, and you can see it's kind of a brothy, um, uh, hearty soup kind of thing. So yes, it would be fine as a main course. Just during Passover, this is the way we always had it.
And have you ever frozen it? Like
Yes, in fact, I did freeze it because I made it, and it's only me here, so I do have some frozen that I want to give to my kids. And I think you just have to adjust when you defrost if it needs a little bit more, water or broth to make it a soupy. But there's no reason why you couldn't freeze it.
Well, I certainly am going to plan on making this one for for this Passover because it looks
Yeah.
delicious.
And it
And
would be a good meal, for like you said, for a lunch during Passover or whatever.
and the meatballs, do they stay firm in the
Yeah,
sauce?
yeah, they do. They
Oh,
they do
okay.
stay firm. And again, depending on your level of kosherness for Passover or whatever, you'd get kosher chicken or kosher meat or whatever. But I found when I first made this, it was really messy because, my mother and mother-in-law would get it with the wings and have to cut it. If you look, it says chicken party wings on this package, and it was perfect. I didn't have to do anything to them.
So the little extra, no meat part is gone.
Exactly.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, ladies, this is really a good idea to buy this party wings. I like to hear that. Okay, well, thank you, Becky, for sharing
Thank
your
you.
recipe. I
Thank
can't
you.
wait to make it. I mean,
Thank
seriously,
you.
it looks so delicious, especially the chicken. Oh my God, that looks so good.
And the chicken gets very, very, it's very moist. It really, falls off the bone. But if anyone has questions at the end, I'm happy to
Yes,
answer them.
we'll wait for the end to have everybody
Okay.
ask questions.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, let's move on to Carol. Where is Carol? Carol Newman. Carol, you have made these chocolate dipped almond horns. Oh my God, they look like they're right out of a bakery. I mean, they are absolutely gorgeous. When I made mine, not using your recipe, so I'm going to be using yours from now on. It didn't look like this. This looks really good. So tell us about it.
So when I was growing up in suburban Philadelphia, our neighbor owned Liss's Bakery. And every year my mother would put in her Passover order, which included chocolate dip macaroons, sugar cookies, and almond horns. And the almond horns were my favorite. So over the years, I've researched recipes to try and duplicate my Passover favorites for my family. So macaroons were easy. You just substitute 3 tablespoons of potato starch for 6 tablespoons of flour, and that's from the Angel's Coconut people. And you dip it in chocolate. The other cookie is just a Passover sugar cookie dough. But the almond horns came from Googling almond horns. And lots of people say, well, why are you just making them for Passover? You can go into any Greek diner and find them in the bakery case. But for me, that's Passover. I don't make them any other, time of the year.
Oh, okay. That was one of my questions. Do you make it any other time of the year? Because
No, I'm sorry. I have a former coworker who was gluten-free, so I would make these for her.
Oh, how fantastic. Can I ask you about the almonds? You say you use ground almonds and then sliced almonds for the obviously for the topping,
Right.
but the ground almonds. Do you take whole almonds, toast them, and then put them in a food processor to get them ground, or do you just use whole almonds that are raw?
I, get the bag of almonds. I don't bother to skin them because everything is kind of a beigey brown anyway, and I like that little bit of texture. So I toast them and put them in cool them and put them in the food processor.
Okay, thank you. That makes sense because I know that toasted almonds taste has a lovely flavor. I mean, it's a deep flavor of almond.
Yeah.
The other question I wanted to ask you, because I do have a recipe for homemade marzipan. Do you buy ready-made or do you make your own?
I buy the 10-inch tubes of marzipan and or 10 ounce, I'm sorry. Anyway, I'm left with a piece of it. And then if I double the recipe, I kind of smush it from the roll that was unfinished. So yeah.
And the when I made mine, I found that it was lumpy when I used my marzipan. How do you get it so that it's nice and smooth? What's your trick that you do?
Use the mixer at a lower speed, and you have to be patient because after a while, just like in the food processor, it will all of a sudden, it will come together. And as with this, once you add the egg white to it, and the other things that it needs, it does come together.
And have you ever tried the solo almond pie filling? That's like,
Okay.
like
So that's kind of soft and spreadable. It's almost like the consistency of peanut butter. Good for Hamantash fillings or coffee cake or babka, but it would never work in this recipe.
And one more last question.
Sure.
Do these freeze well? Like you make them ahead of time and then freeze it, or do you have to make them, like a couple of days before Passover?
I make them a couple of days before Passover, and I wouldn't know about freezing them because there are never any left over.
Well, trust me, I've been to a bakery. The other question, there was other question. I'm looking at the nuts and I'm remembering my other question. I was in New York in an Italian bakery and they had the horns, but they made it with pistachios. Have you ever tried any other nuts on top of your?
I have not, and a recipe that I made for these before this one, you said you could use hazelnuts if you wanted to.
Oh,
So there's always hazelnuts in my freezer for when I'm making rugelach. So I'm not sure about the flavor combination of marzipan and hazelnuts.
Oh, yeah. The hazelnut's a really very strong nut.
Yes, yes.
Well, any recipe that calls for almonds is one of my faves. And I want to thank you for giving us the 411. Is there any on your recipe? Is there any other thing you'd like to share about your recipe today?
The only thing I decided I want to do differently this year is to weigh it out into 12 portions so that they're all the same size.
Oh, so you're a woman of my heart.
Yeah.
That's why I weighed mine out, because I wanted them to look uniform. So when
The retired home ec teacher is all about exact
there
measurements.
you go. There you go. All for it. That's funny. That's really cute. Well, thank you, Carol, for giving us the
You're
411
welcome.
on your recipe, and definitely going to make your recipe, not the one that I had made before, because this looks delicious. Okay, thank you. If time permits, we will be able to, ask other, questions of Carol and of course of Becky, because their recipes are so wonderful. So let's move on to Sandi, who has made the Passover raspberry squares. Now, she didn't make these, I did, because Sandi is working on some house issues. So I said, Sandi, we have 2 pictures of food. I gotta have a picture of a food to show for everybody to see. So be honest, does it look like yours? That's
Yeah,
the oh,
looks
okay,
great.
good.
Wonderful job.
But
That's
I
good.
thought that there was a lot of extra, like streusel on top, so I was thinking maybe next time I'll put more on the bottom and a little less on the top. But if you say they look like yours, then I'm happy. So that's great.
Sometimes you can take the extra topping and kind of pat it down and put it in sections if you want. Instead of drizzle it, you can pat it down and it will work too. Either way, whatever you feel comfortable doing. So
Well,
yeah.
that sounds really good. I mean, I was just thinking your recipe, nobody has it yet, but it will be in the book, as I told you. A week from today, that's Monday, we will have a whole recipe book of 35 plus recipes. Plus, there are some other recipes that unfortunately didn't make the deadline, but we're going to showcase them on Mighty Networks. And Nikki will put that little link in the chat so that everybody will have that, so they know where to find it under cooking and baking, which is a section under the Mighty Networks program of communication. But Sandi, would you explain to them, since they don't have the recipe, how you make it, like what you do?
Well, I picked this recipe and I make it all the time because there's minimal effort and a few ingredients and not a lot of patchki, and it's pretty easy to do. So I use 2 sticks of butter. You can use margarine. I just like, when I bake, to always use butter if I can. I think it gives it a richer taste. But you can use margarine, and then use 1.5 cups sugar, 2 beaten eggs, whisk it if you want. If you don't have a whisk, use a fork like you had said. Half a teaspoon of vanilla, 3 cups of sifted matzah cake meal, a half a teaspoon of salt, and then the raspberry jam. Now you can use blueberry jam, strawberry jam, whatever. I just like the raspberry because it's easy for me to find it in the kosher section.
Can I ask a question? Is it raspberries have the seeds or seedless? Which do you prefer?
Seedless.
Okay.
I do seedless. It's
Okay.
just, better from me. And then I use a cup of chopped nuts, and I use pecans. A lot of people like walnuts,
That's
but there's
exactly
a
what I
lot,
used.
but there's a lot of people that can't eat walnuts, so I use pecans, and they're a little bit sweeter. It's a meatier kind of nut, so I do that.
And I know
And
you
I
call for it to be crushed, right? You say, well, chopped.
chopped, chopped, not to get like a meal kind of it, doughy kind of. It's just chopped nuts
We have a
because it gives it
question that's
some kind of
asking how much jam.
texture.
I think the recipe is 12 ounces, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. If that jar says 11.5, fine, go for it. I
Yeah.
mean, as far as that goes, and you just cream together the butter and the sugar, and then you add the eggs, the vanilla, the meal, and the salt, mix them together, divide the dough in half, put it in a 9 by 13 greased floured pan, and I generally flour it with the matzah of cake meal so that it stays, pesadika.
And
And then,
do you pat it in? I mean, do you pat it
yeah,
in?
I do. I
Yeah.
pat it in so that it'll make more of a eatable square. And then I put the jam over it and the nuts, and then I cover it with the rest of the dough. And you can crumble it, you can pat it, put it into whatever sections you want. I kind of like to crumble it. I think it looks more interesting. And just bake it at 350 for 30 minutes. Done.
It's done.
And then when it's warm, you want to cut the squares and leave them there cut. And then what I do is I always put it in a cupcake white paper, and I put each square in that cupcake paper, and then I freeze it, and I make it ahead of time.
That was another
So
question we had. Definitely. Fantastic.
I freeze it, done. And then
And
I take it out the
there's
day of Passover, and I just put it, a doily on the bottom, and I've got all them individually in these paper muffin
So you
cups.
use pecans. A couple of people have asked, can you use almonds? Can you use, and you said maybe walnuts. So other nuts is okay to use in this recipe.
Yeah, I think, whatever floats your boat, as they say, whatever your favorite is. We in our family like pecans. I have a husband who's allergic to walnuts, so I very rarely use that in
So
baking.
I have one other question about the dough. My family, oh my God, if I don't make anything that has chocolate in it, they don't want to eat it. So have you ever put little pieces of chocolate, breaking it up, in a bag? The way I break up my nuts is I put it in a Ziploc bag. I take a meat pounder. I zip the bag, take a meat pounder and pound it, pound it, pound it, and now it's all done. So that's something that you can do with chocolate, so you don't have to worry about buying kosher. You just buy the kosher chocolate bars, and then put it in a Ziploc bag and cut it. Have you ever made it with chocolate?
I've done a pretty classic, but I think it's great. Chocolate's chocolate. Why not? I think that's a great idea. The best part about a recipe is giving it all your own personality. So,
Absolutely. Okay,
yeah,
now
I mean, it's
you need to
easy.
tell us about this award-winning recipe.
Oh, so the Midwest District, before it became Heartland, we had a Yes Fun fundraiser, and all of us brought all of our desserts. And I got there were so many of them, like 50 of them or something, and they were categorized in different categories, cookies and bars and stuff like that. And I wound up winning the award for that. No big deal, but everybody liked it, and it was very fun, and we brought in a lot of money because everybody went around and filled up their box, and they had to pay like $5 or $6 for it, and all the money went to the Yes Fund. So
What
that
a
was,
way to raise money. What a delicious way to
yeah,
raise money.
Yeah, it was. And then, they gave awards and stuff like that. It was a big deal, but it was fun. It was really, really fun.
It is a big deal. Yeah, Genna says it's a big deal. Definitely it is, Genna. Okay, well, thank you, Sandi, for sharing your recipe with us. Raspberry squares, I'm sure everybody on this program is going to be making those this year. So now I'd like to ask if there's any questions that anybody has. You can raise your hand and we'll call on you. We have a few minutes for that. I did mention before we do that, I did mention next Monday, look for your little reminder that that you've come to the program. Give us a review of it and a link to the new cookbook. 35 plus recipes plus others, just in case that that you want to have those, and to go on to Mighty Networks. Here's our Passover. This is a little hint of what it's going to look like. Really, really a nice book. Thanking Nikki for getting it all together. She did such an awesome job, didn't she? But the recipes are definitely, definitely wonderful. I mean, I had a chance to look at every single one of them, and everyone is a winner. So you definitely gotta. I'm so glad you're here, so you can get a copy of this cookbook next week. Anybody have any questions that they'd like to ask?
Somebody wanted to know if we could freeze everything that was made tonight.
You could definitely freeze my bagels. Becky says you can freeze the chicken. Carol says yes, and Sandi says yes. So yes, freezing everything is a good thing, because then you don't feel stressed at that, the day of the holiday. That's for sure. Also, I wanted to make sure that you realize that the bagels are gluten-free. Okay, for those who are gluten-free, these are gluten-free because it's almonds, made with almonds. And it on the bag it says kosher for Passover, because I know that some nuts, when you grind them, they're not. This is kosher for Passover. It's almond flour. Oh, how nice! Nice little note from Heartland District. Yay! No, if there's no questions, other than telling you about the booklet, I guess I'm going to turn it back over to Sandi for her words. Thank you.
Thank you, Bernice.
So I'm going to put on a different hat here. I'm Sandi Firsel, a WRJ board member and an online programming chair. I live half of the year in Chicago's northwest suburb and half of the year in Delray Beach. But I really want to thank Bernice for doing an outstanding job. Wendy for monitoring and answering all the questions. Yay, you did an amazing job. But I also need to say thank you to Becky and Carol for making this program so wonderful and sharing your amazing Passover recipes. I want to thank Bernice's husband, Peter Porrazzo, for being an outstanding videographer. Is it right? Videographer. And a special, amazing thank you to Nikki Braun for her tech support, always aiding our committee, as she always does. Such an amazing job in so many ways. And this cookbook is absolutely a treasure, and Nikki had put it together. Bernice did a wonderful job of editing it and thinking of so many things that you might need to have clarified. So look it over, enjoy it. You'll have a wonderful time. If you enjoyed tonight's program, please consider looking at the upcoming WRJ programs and add them to your calendar. April the 11th is Lighting the Way, a virtual Havdalah for social action. May the 28th, 7:30, for Ideas to Impact, making ORME program your own. And these are award-winning programs that can be used in your sisterhood, your areas, and your districts. So please take a moment and do that. And with that, I want to wish everybody a wonderful, wonderful, happy Passover. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. You will be receiving links on the survey along with extra recipes. So everybody enjoy and just have a wonderful time with your family. And we wish our Israeli families the same thing, even though they're in peril. And we hope that next year in Israel, things will be better and peace for everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Good night.